Well, hello and welcome to Faith, Philosophy and Life. Me, Mr. Shelton. I do hope that you are doing well. We are in a unit thinking about mysteries of faith, and we've been thinking a little bit about Holy Week and the crucifixion of Jesus, leading to where does the body of Jesus go. And today we're going to think about another part of that mystery. We're going to be thinking about what happens on Jesus' final journey, looking at something called the Stations of the Cross. Behind me are photos of Via Dolorosa, which is the pathway that Jesus was said to walk in Jerusalem, and many pilgrims go in normal times and walk this and reflect as they go around about what life would have been like for Jesus carrying that big heavy cross and all that burdens that are associated with that. And you can see there's some images of narrow passageways and dark tunnels, and this is the route that people believe Jesus took from the Pilate's palace, carrying the cross all the way through to Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through the Stations of the Cross, something you might be familiar with. It's a very reflective lesson, and then you'll go on to complete a little storyboard of what we thought about as well. So what you're going to need today is you're going to need a pen and paper, you're going to need maybe some colours for later, and you're going to need to be a little bit reflective, so you need to make sure that your room is, and everything that you're wearing at the moment is a nice safe space for that. You're also going to need the description below, where you will find a worksheet in that which you'll need as well. So go and get that sorted, because here's our cheesy intro sequence. Okay, so our title today is How do the Stations of the Cross help worship? How do the Stations of the Cross help worship? And today we're going to explore what the Stations of the Cross teach us. It's going to be a good outcome if you can describe the main story behind the Stations of the Cross. It's going to be great if you can explain how the Stations of the Cross encourage faith as well. And so our literacy skill is interpretation. We're going to be interpreting text and information as we go. During today's lesson then, it's fairly straightforward. We've looked at Via Dolorosa already. We're going to look at the Stations of the Cross and what we know, and then we're going to do a little reflection on that as well. So to start off with then, these are some of the Stations of the Cross, very artistically done, a lot of them are. I'd like you to think for a moment, what are the Stations of the Cross? What do you understand by that term? And how many of them are there, and what do they represent? So just pause me now, write down what you already know about the Stations of the Cross, and then come back to me. Okay, so I wonder what you've got, if you know anything at all. So the Stations of the Cross, there are 12 of them. Normally, that is. I know sometimes there might be a few more added onto the end, a few less, and some are missed out and some are included. But we're going to look at the sort of the standard 12 today, and they're normally found around a church building or a cathedral, and people go around them on Good Friday and other days when they want to reflect on the suffering of Jesus. Sounds a little bit odd, that, but we're going to do a reflection on that anyway. In the description below, you will have seen a link. You will have seen a worksheet like this. What I'd like you to do is to download that, and then you can either type in the boxes if you've loaded the Word version up, or you can write in them if you've got access to a printer. And what you are going to do before we get into this in any great depth is you're going to be completing the first column for each of them. What do you think that picture is showing? That's basically what you're doing. So you're going to go through those. You're going to complete number 1 to 12, looking at the pictures. I know they're quite small, but they'll do for what you need. What do you think is happening in each picture, and what the teaching is with that? So you're going to do that, and then you're going to come back to me. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through them together and help complete that right hand column as well. So give yourself sort of 10-15 minutes to do this. Need a little bit of depth in that, a little bit of thought pattern. What's going on in these pictures? And then come back to me. Okay then, so this then is what's going to happen. I'm now going to go through each of the 12 with you. We're going to have a little reflection time. So I'm going to read you a bit of information about it in a kind of a meditative way, and then ask you to do a little bit of reflection yourself, silent reflection that is. You don't need to write anything down. And when I've finished, you need to write down what actually you think that's going on in that picture based on your reflective thoughts. So some of these thoughts might be quite personal to you, so obviously write down what you are comfortable with, and then as per usual I am going to ask you to get anything sent through to your teachers at the end of it, because we'd like to see where you are up to. So, Station of the Cross number 1. The first station is called Jesus is condemned to death. So Jesus is standing before angry people who are yelling and saying mean and hurtful things to him. They scream at him. Some of them tell lies about him, saying that he's done bad things. But Jesus stays quiet, even though he knows those things hurt. He knows that God is with him. He even asks God to help forgive the people who are yelling and telling lies about him. Look at your heart. Has anyone ever said mean or hurtful things to you? Or has anyone ever told a lie about you? If someone did that to you, look at your heart and see how you felt. Maybe you were scared or hurt, or maybe you felt a little angry. And when you see how that felt, show your heart to Jesus. See Jesus loving you when you show him what happens in your heart. Look at Jesus. He's standing before angry people who are yelling and saying mean things to him. So pause me now, and then come back to me when you've got something written in that box. So that's Jesus is condemned to death. The second station then is Jesus receives the cross. Jesus receives the cross. Again, I'm now going to go through the same format with you. Look at Jesus. When the soldiers put a big heavy cross on Jesus' shoulders, Jesus doesn't fight with them, doesn't say angry words with them. He knows that he has to carry this cross a long way. And he knows that the way will be hard for them at times. Jesus knows that God is with them, and he asks God to help carry this cross, even though it's heavy. Look at your heart. Have you ever had something happen to you that was very hard for you? Sometimes children are very sick. Someone in your family is very sick. Sometimes adults don't treat people very nicely. Sometimes we just can't have the things that we want. Take some time to think about what your heart is like when this happens. Then, when you see what your heart is like, show your heart to Jesus. See Jesus loving you when you show him what happens in your heart. So the second station, Jesus receives the cross. The soldiers put a big heavy cross on Jesus' shoulders. Jesus doesn't fight with them. He's not angry with them. He knows he's got to carry his cross a long way. So pause me now while you get something down. Our third station then is Jesus falls for the first time. Jesus falls for the first time. Look at Jesus. Jesus is so tired as he walks along the road with heavy stones and a heavy cross on his shoulders. The cross keeps pushing into his shoulder. The stones on the road hurt his feet. People yell and push him. The soldiers shout for him to move faster. And then Jesus falls, and the soldiers yell more at him. How tired Jesus is. Jesus prays in his heart, God, help me remember that you are here. Look at your heart. Have you ever fallen? Have you ever tried to help someone? Falling hurts, doesn't it? When people make mistakes, it's like falling, and when that happens, your heart sometimes hurts as well. Can you remember a time that you fell? A time that you hurt? Should you remember that time and look at how your heart felt? Show your heart to Jesus. See Jesus loving you. Jesus is so tired as he walks along the road with a heavy cross on his shoulders. The cross keeps pushing into his shoulder. The stones on the road hurt his feet, and people yell and push him. The soldiers shout for him to move faster. Pause me now while you get that done. The fourth station then. Jesus meets his mother. Jesus meets his mother. As Jesus walks slowly with the cross on his shoulders, a woman comes up to him. It's Jesus' mother, Mary. How sad for them to see each other now. Mary feels so sad because she sees how much he's suffering, and Jesus sees the sadness that Mary feels. Even though they both know that God is with them, they can't say anything to each other because they're so sad. Look at your heart. Have you ever been very sad? Do you know someone who's been very sad? Being sad can hurt, and it can hurt your heart a lot. Sometimes our hearts are so sad because we cannot be with someone that we love, especially at this time. If you look at a time that you were very sad, show your heart to Jesus. Picture Jesus loving you when you show him your sad heart. As Jesus walks along with the cross on his shoulder, a woman comes up to him, and it's Jesus' mother, Mary. How sad for them to see each other now. Mary's so sad because she sees that he's suffering, and Jesus is sad because he can see how Mary feels. Pause me now while you get that done. Station number 5. Simon of Cyrene carries the cross. Simon of Cyrene carries the cross. Look at Jesus. Jesus is so tired that soldiers know that he cannot carry the heavy cross himself. So they look around and see someone who looks strong enough to help Jesus carry this cross, and his name is Simon. Jesus just looks at Simon and quietly whispers, "Thank you," and they continue along the road carrying the cross together. Look at your heart. Sometimes helping someone can be difficult for many different reasons. Maybe you haven't finished something that you like to do when someone asks you for help, or maybe you don't feel like you can help that person. Can you think of a time when you were asked to help someone who did not want to be helped? Or can you think about a time when that happened and picture Jesus loving that person? Maybe that person even then reluctantly helped out, and you can hear Jesus whisper, "Thank you." Maybe you help someone as well. See, Jesus is so tired that the soldiers knew that he cannot carry the heavy cross by himself. So they look around to see someone who's strong enough to help Jesus carry the cross, and that was Simon. So pause me now and get that done. Station 6. Veronica wipes Jesus' face with her veil. Veronica wipes Jesus' face with her veil. Jesus is hot, he's tired and he's sweating. His hair is all tangled and he's covered in dust from a long walk. Suddenly, a woman pushes her way out of the crowd and stands in front of Jesus. She takes a clean cloth and gently wipes Jesus' face. Jesus is so thankful that he leaves a picture of his face on her cloth. Look at your heart. Have you ever helped someone? Have you ever done something to help someone feel better? Sometimes you may have done something that you thought was very small or unimportant, like bringing a glass of water or juice to someone, or even giving someone a helping hand with a chore. Maybe you just smiled at someone who looked sad. As you think about times that you've helped, show Jesus your heart and picture Jesus loving you. Maybe you can also picture Jesus leaving a picture of his face on your heart. So Jesus is hot, tired and sweating. His hair is all tangled and is covered in dust from a long walk, and suddenly a woman pushes out her way in the crowd and stands in front of Jesus, and she takes a cloth and wipes Jesus' face. Pause me now when you get that done. Station number 7. Jesus falls for a second time. Jesus falls for a second time. How very tired and weak and sad is Jesus now. Even though he keeps trying to walk with a heavy cross, he just can't keep going. The noise from the crowd and the soldiers make him feel worse. And then Jesus falls because he can't take another step. Look at your heart. Have you ever had a hard time doing something? Maybe you can't do the thing that you really wanted to, and maybe it just always feels like you mess up. How does your heart feel when that happens? Maybe your heart feels the same way that Jesus felt this second time. Jesus falls for a second time. He's very tired and weak. See how sad Jesus is. Even though he keeps trying to walk with a heavy cross, he just can't keep going. Pause me now when you get that done. Station number 8. Jesus meets the daughters of Jerusalem. Jesus meets the daughters of Jerusalem. Look at Jesus. After Jesus gets up, he continues on the road carrying his heavy cross. He passes some women who are crying because they are so sad to see Jesus suffer. But instead of thinking only of himself and how bad he feels, Jesus tells the women not to cry because of him. He tells them instead to take care of others, and especially to take care of their children. Look at your heart. Sometimes it's easy to think about ourselves, about what if it's not going the way that we want, or about problems that we have. It's very hard then to think about other people. How does your heart look when you try to do that? When you think only about yourself and when you try to think of others? Look at Jesus. After Jesus gets up, he carries his heavy cross and he passes some women who are crying because they're so sad to see Jesus suffer. And Jesus tells them to take care of their children. Jesus meets the daughters of Jerusalem. The 9th station, Jesus falls for a third time. Jesus falls for a third time. Jesus is so tired now that he can hardly take another step. It's hard for him to breathe. He's been walking a long time along the dusty road and he's got no energy left and he just can't go on anymore. And Jesus falls in the street for a third time. He's very, very tired. And Jesus asks God to help him. Jesus gets up again, even though it's very hard for him to do. Look at your heart. When have you really tried to do your best and not been able to succeed? It is easy to feel as Jesus feels. Sometimes other people just keep yelling about something that we do, or sometimes other people make fun of the way that we do something. Can you remember a time of when you felt this tired in your heart, when you seemed to be sad or having a hard time with something or someone? Look how your heart felt and show your heart to Jesus. Jesus falls for a third time. He's so tired he can hardly take another step. Station 10. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Look at Jesus. Finally, Jesus reaches the hill that is at the end of the long road that he's walked. Jesus knows that he will die here, but before he dies, the soldiers will do more to him. They pull off his long robe, and almost all his clothes are taken from him. And Jesus stands in front of the crowd with only a small piece of cloth covering part of his body. Jesus asks God to help him remember that he's not alone and that God is with him through all of this. Look at your heart. It's hard to you to share or give something away like that. Do you sometimes feel that you have to keep everything for yourself? Do you ever let something of yours be the reason for bad feelings or bad words between you and someone else? If you remember a time when that's happened, remember how your heart felt. Jesus is stripped of his garments. When Jesus reaches the hill that's the end of the road he has to walk, and Jesus knows that he will die here. Station 11. Crucifixion. Jesus is nailed to the cross. Look at Jesus. How much Jesus hurts that the soldiers nail him to the cross. He hurts all over. He's tired and thirsty. He knows that he is going to die. But he looks at all the people who've hurt him, and instead of saying bad things to those people, Jesus asks God to forgive them. He looks at his mother and tells her to take care of others. Even when he's dying, Jesus is thinking of other people. Look at your heart. Can you think of a time when someone hurt you with unkind words or actions? Was it hard to forgive that person? Jesus knows that forgiving is hard to do, and that's why Jesus will help to change your heart when you ask someone. Ask him to forgive, to help change yours. Crucifixion. Jesus is nailed to the cross. Jesus is nailed to the cross. Pause me now. And our last reflection, station 12, Jesus dies on the cross. Jesus dies on the cross. Finally, after a long walk, after falling 3 times and after having the men beat him, after being nailed to the cross and suffering on the cross, Jesus bows his head and dies. Now this part of his life is over. There's nothing left for Jesus to give or to do. Jesus has given his life for all of us. Look at your heart. Did you ever feel that you wanted to make something better, or that if you'd only tried a little bit harder something would change that you'd want to change? Or maybe you felt that you didn't try hard enough at something and something bad happened. You can think of a time like that. and show Jesus your heart and let him love you. Jesus dies on the cross. Pause me now. So, we said then our learning objective was to explore what the Stations of the Cross teach, and we've described the main story behind the Stations of the Cross, and we've thought about how those Stations of the Cross could encourage faith as well. So what we've done is we've done the Via Dolorosa at the start, the actual journey that Jesus went on with those photos. We thought about the Stations of the Cross and what we know, and then we're going to do a little reflection now. So what I'd like you to do to finish with today is I would like you to create your own storyboard, your own pictures of the Stations of the Cross using your notes from today. I've got an example behind me. This is a reflective exercise, and I know you will do brilliantly at it. So, draw some little pictures. You've got half an hour or so of this lesson left, so I'm guessing maybe you might need to use a bit of homework, but again, take advice from your teachers on that. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for your time. Take care of yourself, stay safe, wash hands, God bless you, and I'll be seeing you soon.